Blame housing discrimination on the appraised value on their home. We're talking about a Jacksonville family. We first reported this yesterday. The Hortons, who live in the Ortega neighborhood, say their property jumped in value 40% after they removed what they called all the blackness from the home. All Your Side's Robert Bradfield has a First Coast News follow-up tonight, talking with a realtor who says housing discrimination still exists.
House hunting can be stressful, even for the realtor working with those looking to land their dream home.
A lot of times there's subtle little comments and things that are made to us as realtors that we have to navigate through.
Nathan Montgomery is a licensed realtor in the state of Florida. He's been selling and showing homes for 6 years and says he's found himself in some uncomfortable conversations.
I had somebody that asked me what was the demographics of the community, and specifically, were there any Muslims that lived in the neighborhood?
He even dropped clients after talking with them about buying or selling. One man was hesitant to sell to minorities. Montgomery just completed a certification in diversity training, calling it eye-opening.
When you read some of the scenarios and the cases that have been brought with ethical violations or ethics complaints, that this stuff still unfortunately does occur.
The Fair Housing Act of 1968 prohibits the discrimination of the sale, rent, and financing of housing based on gender, national origin, race, and religion. But Montgomery says there are clients who are not shy in sharing their preferences about their next-door neighbors.
One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was to be the source to the source, but never the source. And so if people do have questions about crime or school ratings, to direct them to the places that have that.
Robert Bradfield, First Coast News, on your side.